I am Hannah Criselmi Balderrama, your instructor for today. For those students who day back and cannot read clearly what's written on the cartolina, you can bring out your book and open it on page 138. Okay? Before we start, I want you to read the example given. Now, what have you noticed? Okay, so text structure refers to how the material is structured within a written text. This strategy is used by an author to allow students or the reader to easily identify the main idea or information in the context. Text structure consists of 4 types, and these are chronological order or sequence, cause and effect, problem and solution, and lastly, compare and contrast. I will be going to discuss the first 2 types, which is chronological order or sequence, cause and effect. For chronological order or sequence, author used this to explain how things happen in order or in pattern. You will know that you are reading a text in chronological order if you see this signal or clue words like first, then, next, now, finally, after, and later. Let's take a look at the given example. When I got to school today, everybody was acting all strange around me. And at first, I didn't know what was up. Then I remembered I still had the cheese touch from last year. The author stated that or what was happened when he got to school. And the clue words being used are first and then. And let's proceed to cause and effect. If an author wants to explain how one event leads or occur to another, this is called as cause and effect. Clue words or signal words to watch out: so, since, then, or if then, reason and reason why. Let's take a look at the example. Since it was chilly outside, Benjamin built up a big fire in his fireplace. The reason why Benjamin built up a big fire in his fireplace is because of the chilly weather. So, that's the end of our discussion for today. The last two text structure will be discussed by Miss Cordova. I hope you learned something today, and goodbye.
Good day, everyone. Now we're going to continue our discussion about the text structures. So if an author wants to explain a problem and then show a solution, the structure that is appropriate to use is problem and solution. In this structure, you need to state a problem and then list one or more possible solutions to that problem. And it may also include the pros and cons for the solutions. For us to identify the problem and solution, we have some clue words. The first one is the dilemma is, the problem is, the question is, a solution, as a consequence, this led to, so that, nevertheless, this resulted in. So to further understand this structure, I'm going to give you an example. I want you to observe and analyze the paragraph, identify the clue words, and find the problem and the solution. So let's read the example paragraph. Park School had a terrible problem. Every day at recess, students would argue over the slides. Teachers had to spend time every day taking care of the arguments. Finally, one teacher came up with a great solution. They bought another set of slides that everyone could enjoy. So can you identify the problem in the given paragraph? Yes, as we read the first sentence, we can identify the first clue word. It says, Park School had a terrible problem. So as we read, we can find the problem. It is every day at recess, students would argue over the slides. So now that we know the problem, is there any solution in the given paragraph? Yes, there is. We can also find the clue word. Finally, one teacher came up with a great solution, and as we read, we can find the solution to the problem that every students will argue over the slides. The solution to that problem is they bought another set of slides that everyone could enjoy. Now that we know that if an author wants to write about a problem and then show one or more possible solutions to that problem, the structure to be used is problem and solution. But what if the author wants to show how two or more things are alike or how they are different? In that case, they need to use compare and contrast. When authors use the text structure of compare and contrast, they often use some special clue words to show this text structure. So the examples are differs from, similar to, in contrast, alike, same as well as, on the other hand, both, and however. Like what we did earlier, let's observe and analyze this given example. Identify the clue words and answer these following questions. Number 1, what things are being compared? In what ways are they alike? And in what ways are they different? Let's try to read the given example. The cardinal and the cedar waxwing are two common birds. Both have crests on their heads. Both are common at bird feeders, but the birds have some differences. The male cardinal is bright red, while the waxwing is brown. The cedar waxwing often migrates from place to place. On the other hand, the cardinal stays in one place year after year. So in the text, we saw some clue words. The clue words are both, differences, while, and on the other hand. So let's try to answer the questions posted earlier. The first one is what things are being compared in the text. It is about the two birds, the cardinal and the cedar waxwing. The second question is in what ways are they alike? The cardinal and the cedar waxwing are both two common birds, both have crests on their heads, and both are common at bird feeders. The third question is in what ways are they different? The birds have some differences in color. The male cardinal is a bright red while the waxwing is brown. Also, the cedar waxwing often migrates from place to place. On the other hand, the cardinal stays in one place year after year. Now let's recall. Text structures refers on how the material is structured within a written text. The first structure is chronological order or sequence. This describes an event in order to do something or tell the steps to take. The next one is cause and effect. In this type of structure, the cause is usually discussed first in a paragraph, then it leads to a discussion of the effects. Next is a structure that shows a problem and then propose a one or more solution to that problem, that is problem and solution. And lastly, a structure that shows how two or more things are alike and different, that is compare and contrast. Now that you have understood the four text structures, we are going to have an activity which should be passed later. So that is all for today. Thank you for listening.
In a huge body of work, a paragraph is indeed a component of writing. Paragraph embodies a specific theme or subject. It is a group of sentences which all are connected to the same concern as well as consistently ordered. Several of writing should really be structured through paragraphs, whether it is prolonged beyond some few sentences. Indicate whereby a piece of a sections begin to start and end, allowing the reader to see the essay's arrangement and comprehend its essential points. Numerous various sources of information can be obtained in paragraphs. A paragraph could be made up of a collection of concise examples or a long single description of an overall idea. It is used to specify a place, a character, or a procedures to portray a sequence of events, to critically evaluate two or more variables, to categorize objects, or even to define causes and effects. Paragraphs always share similar features, depending on the type of details they include. In writing, paragraphs are vital since they provide a basis for organizing your thoughts in a coherent way. Let's move forward to the types of paragraph. First is narrative paragraph. Paragraphs that tell story are known as narrative paragraph. There seem to be a definite three essential components, which are the background information, the story or event, and the conclusion. Narrative paragraph must have central idea, what the story is all about. Characters, who it is about. Plot, that all about conflict, complication, climax, and resolution. Adequate description. And setting, when and where the story happened. They vary from novels and short stories in terms of length and level of detail. Just similar to short stories, they conveyed a distinct viewpoint. It also provides a moral and create a setting or environment. In a narrative paragraph, events should be specified in chronological in which they occurred. The second type of paragraph is descriptive paragraph. This kind of paragraph describes something else and clearly demonstrates to the reader what it was like to be that thing or that entity. The five senses of touch, smell, sight, sound, and taste are frequently evoked by the terminology used in the definition. Descriptive paragraphs can indeed be creative and break grammatical rules. The aim of a descriptive paragraph would be to give the reader as much of a grasp to the object, phenomenon, or occurrence being presented as possible without having to physically encounter it, such that the reader couldn't see it but can identify its appearance, unable to taste it but can recognize its saltiness or sweetness, and cannot touch it but knows its texture.
We knew the other two types of the paragraph and the meaning of the paragraph itself, explained by Miss Catherine Howe herself. Now let's jump in and to know the other two types of the paragraph and the parts of the paragraph itself. Now, I'm here, Francis Castañeda, to share and to show you the other two types of the paragraph and the parts of the paragraph. So let's start. So the third type of the paragraph, which is the expository paragraph, also known as the explanatory paragraph. This type of paragraph is the one that gives an information, and from the word itself, expose, meaning is to reveal something. This type of paragraph is also describes how things happen, and that is the expository paragraph. Now let's proceed to the other types of paragraph, which is the persuasive paragraph. Persuasive paragraph is a paragraph that convinces the reader, and this type of paragraph is also a bias, though it may consider both sides of an issue, but still at the end, it favors one side over the other side. And this type of paragraph is subjective rather than objective, even though that facts may be presented, but still, as I've said, it is biased. So this is subjective, and this kind of paragraph is subjective. Now, let's move into the parts of the paragraph. Parts of the paragraph is like a sandwich or the hamburger. The title and the topic sentence is the top red. Supporting details, which is the lettuce, tomatoes, cheese, meat, while the concluding sentences is the bottom part of the hamburger or sandwich. The title, of course, the title of the paragraph, while the topic sentences refers to the main idea or the topic of the paragraph itself. Supporting details or the body is the one that supports or give deeper meaning or give specific detail regarding to the topic of the paragraph. while the concluding sentences refers to the topic sentences and summation of all the paragraph itself. Now that we know the paragraph and the other types of paragraph, thank you for listening.
Good morning, class. Today, we will discuss the different types of figures of speech. And we have here 4 types of figures of speech. And first, we have simile, metaphor, personification, and last we have hyperbole. So, let's identify each one of them. Okay, first one we have simile. Okay, simile is one of the most common forms of figurative language. And when we say simile, we are comparing things using like or as. Okay, we are comparing two different things in an interesting way. So, for example, that we have here, she is as innocent as an angel. So, the word she, or the word she, which is a noun, is being compared to an angel. She is as innocent as an angel. So we can see that we use the word as, okay, the word as, to compare the noun she to an angel. Next, we have metaphor. So when we say metaphor, we are comparing things without using like or as. So metaphor is quite similar to simile, but the only distinction here is the word like or the word as. Like for example, she is an angel. So do we use the word like or as? No, but we are still comparing two different things in a directive way. Okay, next we have personification. So, personification is a figure of speech where non-living objects are described to seem like people. So, personification means representing a non-human thing as if it were human. We are giving human traits or human qualities such as emotions, desires, or actions, and so on. Like for example that we have here, the sun smiled at us. Okay, is it possible that the sun could smile at us? No. But here, the sun is not literally smiling at us. We are just stating that how bright the sun is. Okay, and for the last, we have hyperbole. Okay, when we say hyperbole, we are exaggerating what you mean. Okay, we are using hyperbole to make something much bigger, much better than it actually is. Okay, we are using hyperbole to make something sound much dramatic. So we are exaggerating something. Like for example that we have, I'm so hungry, I could eat a horse. So it's not literally the man is able to eat a whole horse, right? But he used these words, I'm so hungry, I could eat a horse, to describe his starving. Because if we are using hyperbole, we are exaggerating something. And that is the fourth type of figures of speech. And other types of figure of speech will discuss to you by Mr. Mark Borland.
Good day everyone. So for our lesson for today, we are talking about the figure of speech. So first, let's have the apostrophe. Apostrophe gives human qualities to inanimate objects or a person who is not there. So it is talking to the objects that you gives a human action or qualities like a person who is not. Here's an example. Hello darkness, my old friends. I've come to talk to you again. So as you can see, the person is talking to the darkness, which is not a person. Therefore, it is an apostrophe because the speaker gives human quality or action to the darkness as his old friend, and he comes to talk to that darkness. The word talk in our example is a human action. Next, we have onomatopoeia, using words that imitate the actual sound of the object or action it describes. So, onomatopoeia, it is a sound that the object or the action produces that we can use in describing something. For example, at the river, the huge rock splashed in the water. In this example, the word splash is used to describe that the huge rock falls into the water because it is the sounds that creates when something falls into the liquid surface. With the use of this word, we can determine the rock falls into the water. Again, if you are going to describe an action with the use of sounds, it is called onomatopoeia. Next, we have oxymoron. Oxymoron is using contradicting terms to make a point. It is a paired word with contrasting meaning that can be funny when it used. It will be something like known secret, orderly confusion, all new, deafening silence, or fully nice. Usually, the oxymoron has an adjective and noun. It is either has a positive adjective and negative noun, or a negative adjective and positive noun. For example, it is deafening silence when I'm alone. So in this example, as you can see, the word deafening and silence have contrasting meaning to each other. But you can use another term with contradicting meaning to put some humor to your sentence. For the last, we have the anaphora. It is a repetition of same sounds or words in a sentence. It appears in every line of it. For example, we had the right love at the right time. If you have noticed in this example, the word right is repeated in the second line, and not only the sound but the whole word. You can define the anaphora as simple as that. And that's where our topic ends. I hope you learned a lot from me. Thank you for listening.